We had a feeling we're going to have a low turnout today just because, like she said, the farmers market started today and there's all kinds of events. School's getting out. So, but that's okay. So, do we have any questions today or am I going to just present? Okay. Joy, did you have a specific question?
Well, I've visited with
you. Yep. Well, you can, I mean, how are things going with the kids? I know you had mentioned on Facebook that,
I've had the others inside the bin.
Okay. Okay. And they're getting along.
Yes, she's never been a problem.
Yeah.
Issue with it.
Yeah.
Just big and strong and rough, much less rough now. And she is very soft-mouthed.
Mm-hmm.
She takes your treat from your hand. And I didn't bring that up.
I don't know if we, yeah, because she, I mean, she wasn't eating from us, so.
But she did eat it.
Yeah. She's like, now that they're gone, I can eat that food. So, my name is Eva.
Eva?
Yeah. So, my name is Eva Perigo. I'm a certified trainer and behavior counselor. I run Star Dog Training. And then with Becky and Cody, we run Safe Pet Partners together as well. All good over there? Oh, the man behind the curtain. How's Lolita doing?
She seems fine. Yeah. I mean, she's the birdhouse right by her food.
Yeah.
She's not as agitated as she was at first when the parent birds were coming to feed the baby.
But she gets out, like you let her run around on your property, right?
Yeah, when the others are
inside. Yeah.
I have a thing that Jane introduced me to 2 circles. So there's an inner circle and then a 3-foot wide perimeter circle. And I have a foster dog and she's doing just fine. And I thought, I'll put her in there with I have a puppy that is mine. That is a border collie Australian Shepherd cross. And I thought I'd put them together. Her on the outside and my puppy on the inside. And then I tossed treat and then she went for the small dog's neck. And I really did panic.
Yeah.
I called Jane right away. What did I do? She said, I'm not. Well, it did all that. I mean, I was there. I had the foster dog on leave, even though she was in that perimeter area.
Yeah, the circle training is pretty cool that Jane came up with, because it can be, well,
it really worked, because I'm not a trainer, right? I'm just a mom and said animals all their life. And I've never had this way of introducing. And so I put it out. Want to try. And I have a big Maremma rescue, a female, and she's a fence jumper. She can get out of the inner circle, but she needs more room, that 3-foot space. And Jane said that's critical, it'd be no more than 3 feet. She can't seem to handle that as easily if I leave a lead on her. So I can work in the garden and keep an eye.
So we got connected with Joy. This is a good example kind of like what we do as Safe Pet Partners. We got connected with Joy to try to help provide some behavioral assessment as well as just general assistance with a dog that she kind of wound up fostering longer than expected. And some community members were able to reach out to us and kind of put us in contact with her. So, you know, we went out to her location and have been providing a little bit of support. And that is just, yeah, like I said, kind of a good example of some of the stuff that we do, the support services.
So I'm glad you're here because I know that even with, you know, so Emma is one of the foster dogs that she has, and she's deaf and she's scared of strangers. It's not in an aggressive way, she's just scared of them. So
I didn't know that until recently.
yeah, and so unfortunately, she's not a great candidate for adoption or for transfer, and so unfortunately, she's kind of in this limbo space, right? Because she's not aggressive, she has, you know, a nice space to live at Joy's, but Joy also didn't sign up to take her forever, right? So it's kind of, she's in this limbo. So I wanted to kind of talk to you actually about some of the things you can do to kind of just improve Emma's life. And this is going to work for Lolita as well. So she has another foster dog in her care. And so,
I took a new dog because Stray Hats was closed at the time. I mean, we really are a desperate society.
yes, we are. And then they're full instantly anyway. So basically, I'm going to talk a little bit about mental enrichment. I've talked about this before on some of these, but I'm going to jump into it a little bit more, especially because you're here. So I have a bunch of different types of toys and things that we can kind of show you how to utilize. I would have brought my dog, but I just felt like it was a little too hot out there. So we're just going to have to pretend. Yeah. So mental enrichment is just basically giving the dog things to do to engage their brain and to allow them to express like species-specific behavior, meaning things that dogs like to do. So dogs like to hunt, dogs like to sniff, dogs like to dig, dogs like to rip stuff apart, dogs like to chase things, you know, and they each have their own individual preferences, just like we do. And so we kind of figure out, what does the dog like? What do they particularly like to do? I know Emma likes to get in the water, right? She has a tub that she has for us, so that's pretty awesome. And we can kind of talk a little bit about how to improve that tub too, just make it more fun. So a simple thing that you can do to just try out, like I said, every dog has their own personal preferences. So we kind of try out different things to see what each dog likes to do. So a really simple one is just collect your cardboard boxes, collect your toilet paper rolls. And what you can do is you can just take food and stick food in the cardboard box. Pretty simple. You can start really easily, especially if a dog has never had to do any mental enrichment before or has never been exposed. They won't work too hard to start because they haven't figured it out. We don't want to make the puzzle too difficult. We have to kind of work them up to that. So to start with, you can just give them an open box with the food in it, and then they get to sniff around and they're going to sniff. And it's, instead of it just being here's a cookie, it's now they have to kind of hunt for the food.
That Kong thing someone introduced. Yeah.
Yep.
You can freeze food. I hadn't thought of that.
So I like these because this is kind of so for instance, what this is it's going to tap into sniffing. Yep. And then some dogs will rip it apart. You know, they'll rip the cardboard boxes apart. You can also do things where you like put a box in a box and then the food's in the smaller box. So now they have to pull the small box out to get to the food. If they start getting really good at it, then you can actually start to close up the box. I do recommend taking any kind of tape off of it so there's no accidental ingestion of tape. So you can just do, you know, close the box up, how we know how to do that, right? So saving this type of stuff, paper bags, this is just a paper bag. If you have extra paper bags around, which a lot of us do, you can just use the paper bag on its own where you just stick food in there. You can crumple it, you can roll it, you can also stick this in the box. So any kind of cardboard, paper materials that are not, you know, like magazine style paper materials. You can shove all of that in there. If you get a big box, you can put boxes and boxes and all the paper materials and all your toilet paper rolls and just make a big thing. Well, the cool thing is all the mess they make, you just stick it right back in the box and you've got yourself another activity again. So as opposed to having to like pick it up and throw it away, you just put it right back in the box. And so typically with this, especially with a dog that's not done a lot of mental enrichment in the past, using something that treats and food that are really stinky, wet, we want it to have a strong scent to it so that the dog can smell it. And then as they start to kind of figure it out, they get better and start to advance the levels. So there's that type of kind of simple exercise. Excuse me, Mr. Buster Jasper. Then we do have, as Joy talked about, the Kongs, and there's lots of different. Kong is kind of the original work to eat toy. So these are food stuffable toys. So you can put, as she mentioned, you can put anything in there. So you can do wet food, you can do kibble mixed with chicken broth, you can do yogurt, mashed carrots, mashed potatoes, mashed sweet potatoes, applesauce, cream cheese, peanut butter, anything like that. And actually, if you go to Kong's website, they also will teach you how to do different layers, different types of foods, and they actually have different levels of difficulty. So you can actually layer it as opposed to just filling this thing with peanut butter and that's it. You can actually put different layers of like a little bit of kibble and then some peanut butter and then maybe a little piece of chicken. And they have a bunch of different recipes on their website. If you are going to get Kongs, I recommend you getting size appropriate. They are designed specifically for the size of the animal. There's also different hardnesses. So you also want to get a hardness that's appropriate for your animal as well. And so if you're looking for Kongs, just buy one. It is marked on there, the age and the size that they recommend. Because if you get it too big, they can get like noses and stuff stuck. If it's too small, we don't want them to ingest it. So Kong is like the traditional one. This is also made by Kong. It's just a different kind of variety. So you can actually stick some like kibbles in here, or more of your hard treats, and then on this side you can actually stuff the wet stuff. As Joy also mentioned, you can freeze it. That makes it take much longer. So same thing as with the boxes. If you're just starting to introduce these things to a dog, you can start with it not frozen as they start to figure it out. Especially if you have a really fearful dog, some dogs are scared of toys. The first time they see these, they're like, I don't know what that is. They don't trust it. So even just spreading like peanut butter on the outside, just to get them used to being around a new object. And then as they get comfortable with that, then you stuff it. And as they get comfortable with that, then we freeze it. This is just another variety, stuffable. This one has a little plug so that you can stuff it without stuff pouring out the bottom. Same idea. It's just a stuffable, just a different brand. This one is one of my favorites. This is called the, what is this called?
Wobbler.
Topple.
Oh.
It is a West Paws Design Topple toy. West Paws is a company in Montana. Not a sponsor. Please be a sponsor. They're a really great organization because they will, if these destroyed, they'll replace them for you. So they have a really nice warranty for them. This is the small and this is the large. Same thing, you can stuff these with different things. They have these little fingers in there so you can plug stuff up in there. Step one is just giving them this, once again, size appropriate. But once they get really good at just eating it out of the open, you can actually put them together. And then the dog has to figure out how to get these things apart before they can get to the inside. And then even cooler is the next step, is that if you can line it up, you can actually get like bully sticks in there to create like a little locker, if you will. You can also, we get, I know SIDS carries them. I think Blue Skies carries them sometimes as well. I think actually, weren't you saying that Super Save has them?
Yeah.
So these are just marrow bones. This one's been emptied, so it's already been eaten by my dog. But the cool thing about these is once the marrow has been eaten by the dog, you've got yourself another stuffable toy. So you can actually refill these and give it and freeze it and give it back to the dog. So you can reuse these instead of having to consistently buy them. First time giving a dog a marrow bone, I would keep an eye on it, maybe only give them a portion of it because it's really rich. And so it can make their stomachs a little upset if they're not used to eating that kind of stuff. That goes with kind of just about anything. So those are food stuffable toys. So that's for dogs who like to chew, lick, hold things. The paper bags are more for dogs who get to sniff and rip and kind of more dissection stuff. Then there's also food dispensing toys. So this is the type of toy where you can actually put kibble inside of it or dry food or treats inside of it. There's these little chambers, and each chamber is a different difficulty level. So there's one, if you put it in the first chamber where it just has one dot, it only needs to come out of that chamber. As the dog gets better at it, you can then move to the second chamber. And now in the second chamber, the food has to come from the second chamber into the first chamber to come out. And then you just keep advancing. So there's 4 levels to this toy. As an example, my dog, who is a food maniac, she will eat anything and everything, and she will find I use the fourth compartment in here and leave her with this when I have to go to work for a longer day. There's almost always a little bit of food left. Like it's that hard. And she will just, this is made by Starmark. It's called a Starmark puzzle toy. Yep, so you fill the little chambers. Nope, so great question though. We put it together and then they have to bash it around and there's little holes. And so as they bash it around, the food comes out the hole. So it comes out the chamber and onto the floor and they scavenge. So they bash this around. The other nice thing about this is it doesn't have any corners. So the dog can't crush it, right? So they can't get onto that corner and kind of break the toy because there are. It is quite a challenge. But the beauty of it is it works in that brain, right? So it's giving them enrichment, it's giving them stimulation, it's tapping the natural hunting and scavenging needs. So it's really like satisfying a lot of natural dog behaviors. It's also doing a puzzle. So, you know, like when you've been working really hard, but not physically, like maybe you're in front of a computer all day and you're like exhausted, it's kind of that same type of thing. It's mentally tiring out our animals, which is super important. It's also super important as they get older too, keeps their cognition together, helps prevent cognitive decline as they get older. So just like us, you know, they're like, yep, they're like, do your puzzles, do your crossword puzzles, do your Sudokus. It's the same thing. For dogs who are dissectors, this is kind of another nice, cool little toy. There's lots of different varieties of these. The most common one is like a squirrel. It's like a tree stump with little squirrels inside. So this thing has little baby toys inside of it with squeakers in them. And so the dog has to figure out how to pull this out. So that's good for dogs who like to dissect. I typically stuff it with other toys. I call these the roadkill toys because they don't have any stuffing in them. And it's so terrible, but it kind of looks like roadkill. But same thing, I can just stuff this in there. And you can, if your dog's not into regular toys, you put food in there. And so now they have to pull these toys out to get to the food on the inside. As with, I mean, they may remove, it's really watch your dog. The first time you give your dog anything. Yeah, I would, in general, I say watch always. Some dogs want to consume, some dogs don't. So some dogs will pull the squeaker out and then once it's out and killed, the squeak no longer works and it's discarded and they don't care about it. Some dogs are ingesters. Vast majority are not ingesters, like they won't actually consume it, but giving your dog anything, you always want to keep an eye on the first time just to make sure that they're not going to swallow something we don't want them to. That is also kind of the benefit of using paper product is if they accidentally ingest some of this, their body can process that paper product. So we use boxes a lot when we worked at the shelter, specifically for those dogs that were ingesters and they couldn't have regular toys, they would eat them. And so instead of just saying, well, that's too bad for you and you don't get any mental enrichment, we can give them this opportunity. Then there's also like lick mats. So for dogs who kind of are a little bit more, maybe not as voraciously wanting to like dig into this, you can fill this with like peanut butter or all the same stuff we talked about with filling the Kong. Same thing, you can just spread it on here. If they're getting really good at it, then you can put this in the freezer as well. And so this is just another type of variety of getting things going to work for their food, work to eat. These types of toys are for like bully sticks. You can stick a bully stick in there. And so what it does is it makes it harder for them. They can't eat the whole thing. They have to like work to pull it out. So it slows them down. So there's those types of toys.
Do you recommend bully sticks?
I do, as with anything, watch them the first time. Especially for dogs that are really heavy chewers, or dogs that really like to, like I, as a dog trainer, get a lot of clients who are concerned that their dogs eat so much wood. And so that's a really good replacement because it mimics that mouthfeel of crunching into wood. The only thing you have to be careful with is the little nubs once they get down low, ingesting that. And as with anything, first time you give it to them, some dogs do, some dogs don't. You know, it's kind of a watch your dog, try it out. If your dog's good with it, then great. Yeah, it's a different option. The bully sticks, the reasons I recommend those is they just last longer. Out of all the like different, you know, sinew and tracheas and all of that, the bully sticks just tend to last longer. But you can use whatever works for your animal.
And try it out and see what your dog prefers of the different ones.
Yep, exactly.
Because different dogs will prefer some over others.
Yep. Like my dog will not eat the collagen chews and she'll eat just about anything. So for some reason she's just like, that's not my That's not her jam. So, and then there's also these types of puzzle toys. So, this one, you can put little kibbles in here, actually, and then close it up, and they have to like spin it around to be able to access the different layers of the food. And then, let's see, I didn't pull a piece out. This, it comes with these little bones, and so you can put the kibble in there, and then you have this thing. So now that they can't spin it to access the other holes until they figure out how to pull this thing out, and then they can start to spin it again. So that's kind of your next level again, right? Is your level 2. This is an Outward Hound. So Outward Hound. There's a company called Nina Ottesen. She makes a ton of these types of puzzle toys, and she also has different levels. You can do a level 1 through, I think it's either 3 or 4. And those are all, I like her toys because a lot of them are made out of wood, not plastic. So just a chewer as well. You don't have to worry about them breaking into something like this. And some of them, like her highest level toys, it's like for like the real smarty pants. They have to like turn a thing to be able to pull a thing, to be able to lift a thing, to be able to get to the food. So it's like multiple levels. Yeah, exactly. And some dogs, they need it. They get, they figure this out and they're like, now what? 5 minutes. So then we have to keep advancing. Some dogs, this is all they need. It's just kind of depending on the dog and their voraciousness and whatnot. This is just kind of like another one. You put food in there, they have to spin this thing around. You can put a little cap, same idea. Then they have to remove the cap to be able to spin the thing around. So that's how you can elevate it to the next level. So there's there's a lot of different things. If you even just search DIY puzzle toys or DIY mental enrichment for dogs, you'll find a lot of stuff you can make at home. And so the whole idea is, these are all store-bought toys, but like I said, there's a lot of stuff that's not going to cost you too much money. Even doing a food scatter, just scattering food in the grass or scattering food in the kennel that they have to hunt for then, that taps into that natural scavenging needs. So that can be a really simple, easy way to get started. Becky, you have anything to add?
Yeah. And for any cat owners, pretty much all of these are also applicable to the kitties. We don't often think of it as much with our cats, but they also have species-specific behaviors. A lot of them are very similar to dogs.
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of these foraging, sniffing, and scavenging type activities are also totally applicable to the kitties.
Yeah, at the shelter we used to make also like these. We'd take like the bigger cardboard boxes and like attach toys on the inside and spread different cat style wet foods in there, so they have things they can lick off the walls and they can go climb into the boxes and play in the boxes, and they have toys in those boxes. So that was a great way to kind of give them some self-engagement. The benefit of a lot of this stuff too is that you can give it to the dog and the dog's got something to do and it doesn't need you to do it, right? And so it gives you that break from your animal, but also keeps their life enriched, so they're not just sitting there twiddling their thumbs when you're not involved with them. So a lot of these, like specifically for your foster dogs, these can be just given to them in their kennels, right? So some more like the food scatters, that might be something you give to them when you're letting them run around on the property. Do a food scatter, gives them something to do. Yeah, it's really nice that they get to run around. And I always recommend too, don't just buy I have my one Kong and this is what I give my dog. You have your Kong and you have your lick mat and you have your toys and you have your boxes. And so that each day, I usually recommend to all my clients, or not usually, I always recommend to my clients, you give your dog a minimum of 1 mental enrichment, something fun like this every single day, minimum. Give them 5, even better. So give them something to do throughout the day and change it up and see what they're into and what they like to do. Some dogs they'll chew on this for a little bit and be like, I'm over it. And then these, a box that they're scavenging in, they love their favorite thing in the world. My sister's dog, his favorite thing, she gets big boxes. She gives him she puts treats in there every single morning. And his favorite part is to shove his entire, most of his upper body in there and then walk around the house with his box on his head. It's adorable. It's fun, but it's like one of his favorite things to do. And he looks forward to it every morning, is his little box hangout time. So that's what I'd say, like for Lolita and Emma and every dog out there and every cat and even, even livestock. We just have to think about what does an animal like to do? Let's give them things to do. Like I know jolly balls are really special with like a lot of horses really like those jolly balls, like a big rubber ball with a handle on it. I like throwing those around. I know cows like those as well. So actually saw a cute video of a cow having a little moment with a yoga ball. He was like shoved his head into it and was just breathing deeply, having like morning yoga meditation with his yoga ball. So just really like trying to enrich their lives. So many times when we think about our animals, we think about exercise. I got to exercise the animal. I got to exercise the animal. I got to exercise the animal. And we forget that we also need to exercise the brain, right? It's not just about physical exercise. It's about engagement. Training is also a form of mental enrichment. So teaching them behavior, teaching them to sit or down or come when called or do a hand target or a leave it, whatever it may be, even parlor tricks or doing, like a lot of people think about agility because it's a way to get the dog exercise, but it's also dog having to learn how to interact with things, use their body. So we're just kind of trying to expand that, their opportunities to be an animal. So.
Do you mind if I ask?
Yeah, please. Yeah, please.
I'm a rescue cat that bites.
Okay.
What can I do?
What context does he bite in?
He's happy. Well, he seems happy. He just.
Okay. So it's in play context? So like if you're playing with him and then he gets excited and then he bites?
Yes.
Okay. The reason I ask is because we have to know, is the biting because he's upset or is the biting because he's having fun and it's part of play? So if it's part of play and he bites, I would just end the play, walk away. Oh, too bad. We're out of here. And give it like, I don't know, several minutes. And then you come back and start engaging, play with him again. He bites. Too bad. And we immediately stop playing again.
He bit the previous owner of the pool, and they were shouting at each other.
Yeah, cat bites are not fun. Yeah, Cody's been attacked by a cat. It's not fun. Well, and then the other thing would be to watch his precursor body language. So as you're playing with him, if he's ramping up to that space to want to bite, like what is his body doing prior to the bite? What is his tail doing? What are his ears doing? What are his eyes doing? What's his muscles doing? Most animals will show you the morning that they're getting there, right? So if you see those eyes starting to get really big and that tail starts flicking a lot quicker, it may be that he's ramping up to that, and then we kind of calm it down. All right, we're gonna calm the situation down, so you can, excuse me, kind of watch for that body language prior to the bite, so you can start to get ahead of it and not just wait for him to bite you and then be like, uh-oh, now I just got bit, right? So, and that goes for whether they're happy or upset, is looking for those warning signs that they're getting to that point. There are some really great cat like body language and just behavioral resources. We have a book by Zazie Todd over there for dogs called Bark, but she also has one called Purr, which is about cats. She's an amazing woman. She's an incredible trainer. She's a good writer. So it's a great book on understanding cats.
On our website resources page, there's also a link or two to some cat body language images.
And then also Chirrups and Chatter, I think is the name. That's a website, Chirrups and Chatter, I think is what it's called. She's also fantastic. She's a cat trainer. Chirrups and Chatter. Yep, chirrupsandchatter.com. Tons of resources on there about cats. She's the woman who runs that company. Is Chirrups and Chatter, which are two sounds that cats make. So it's CHIRRUPS and chatter, chirrupsandchatters.com. So she's like one of the best cat trainers in the country, and so she's got a lot of resources on there as well. I highly recommend checking her out. And then one thing I did want to mention, which is, I brought this, is that for a dog that's deaf, right? How do we, what do we do, right? We have a dog that's deaf, it can't hear. We talked a little bit about deaf dogs last time. But I just wanted to show this. This is a refillable squeeze tube. There's lots of different uses for these. So you can just stuff it. These are like $7 online. Stuff it with whatever kind of wet product you want. You fold it over, and then this little plastic thing goes over it to keep it closed. I'm not going to do it right now, but essentially it's just a refillable squeeze tube. And so what you can do with this for a dog that's deaf is it's a way for them to kind of follow you along. So that, because they're going to be tracking this as opposed to visually track, or even hearing track. So they can follow this thing along. It would work for a blind dog as well, Cody just said. So it's also really helpful for dogs that are super reactive. So like, let's say you have a dog on leash that's likes to yell at other dogs. We can cue a leave it, the dog looks up at us, we feed it, and then it looks right back at the dog and starts barking again. And so we cue a leave it, the dog looks up at us, we feed it, and then it looks back at the dog. Or if we say leave it, and we give this to the dog, stick it right in front of the nose, we can lead the dog out of the situation while it continually feeding out of the situation. So it's a great way to kind of keep that connection to your animal. No, I fill it with food. Yeah, so I fill it with like wet food or peanut butter. Yeah, exactly. Peanut butter, same thing that we talked about with the stuffing the Kong. So wet food, yogurt, cream cheese, anything that's squeezable. And so you just fill that up, close up the back end, and then you can just squeeze it out of there, and the dog's just licking the food out of it. So it's a great way to kind of keep that attention on you. These things are awesome. They do break, but they're only, like I said, you can get, I think, $7 for 2 in a package. Camp More, I think, is the, or maybe it's, yeah, I think it's Camp More. There's lots of different varieties of these. I just like these because they're pretty easy to clean. So yeah, that kind of covers what I wanted to talk about today. I mean, there's lots of different types of enrichment. Do you have a question? Yeah.
The second one, I think you might start. I'm curious.
How do you get into what? Oh, how did I get into specializing? So Cody was asking, how did I start specializing in fear and aggression, and like, why is it needed? So I'm a certified trainer. I'm also a certified separation anxiety trainer, and I specialize in fear, aggression, and anxiety. So as a dog trainer, dog training is an unregulated field. So anybody can be a dog trainer in the United States. You can never see a dog in your life and go, I'm a dog trainer, which is unfortunate, which means there's a lot of hacks out there, and there's a lot of people who don't know what they're doing, and they're shilling really bad advice. So that's where a lot of dog trainers will go through a certification program. So I am certified through the Academy for Dog Trainers, really intensely rigorous program. My personal opinion, I know I'm biased, but in my personal opinion, I do believe it's the best program, not only in the United States, if not the world. It's a 2-year program. Becky is actually in her senior level of the Academy, and Cody has actually just started in his freshman level. So, almost on the freshman level. There we go. See? It's an online program. It used to be, it's run by a woman named Jean Donald. She started it. I mean, now it's way bigger than just her, but she's one of the top trainers in the world. And it used to be a brick and mortar school in San Francisco, at the San Francisco CA. But she realized that by turning it into a 2-year program, she could make it more rigorous, a longer program, and reach more people. So she teaches people all over. It's an international program. So she has pre-prepared webinars, modules, educational stuff, and then you have written assignments that you have to create, training plans, how to solve problems, and then you also have to submit videos of yourself training, and then those get critiqued by the people who work for the organization. And so that program, one of the reasons I value it as so much of a good program is that very few of the programs really touch on fear and aggression much, and this one does give you a lot of fear and aggression education. A lot of the other programs are more just kind of the basics of kind of mechanics and timing of training. And so this one does involve a lot of fear and aggression, and it also teaches you a lot about how to talk to people and how to like work with clients, which is also super important, right? So typically what that school always recommends is like think about your specialty. Think about what you like to train. Think about what you want to get involved in. Some people just want to specialize in puppies. Some people want to just do basic manners. Some people want to do herd dog training, whatever it may be. And so when I first started out, I was living in Wyoming, but one of the things that happens in a small town is that a lot of times in a small town, there's not a lot of solid, well-educated, certified trainers in a small town. And so in that case, typically what happens is then you are the only option or the only good option for training all of it. And so that's essentially what I found myself in, was I was training everything, but then I found joy in fear and aggression.
Do you ever use a whistle?
For like recall or just in general? I mean, I don't tend to use a whistle just because it's something else I have to carry. And if you're training using a whistle and you forget it at home, you don't have it. So that's why I like to use my voice, because my voice is always with me, as well as hand signals. You got visuals for the animal as well. But yeah, so that's how and then I found a love for it. I love seeing animals move through that space. From starting in this space of just not trusting the world into finding joy in it. My first major fear case, this dog was so shut down. When I showed up at the client's house, she was curled up in a ball on the couch, and that's where she'd move. They would have to lift her up to carry her outside to go to the bathroom. They were hand feeding her, squirting water into her mouth. She wouldn't get up to go eat. She wouldn't get up to drink. She was literally catatonic. It's terrifying. I mean, this poor thing was just in panic mode. But because of dedicated owners and dedicated people to her, they wanted to do right by her. They spent the time, it was quite a bit of time, but they spent the time on helping her learn to trust the world, and they let her go at her pace, which is super important. And then this was up in Jackson, she became like backcountry ski dog and would go camping with them and like backpacking, and she became a dog. You know, she learned to trust, and it was just like so heartwarming. And then also recognizing, as I say, fear and aggression. Aggression 99% of the time is fear-based. It's just that they're expressing it in a different format. So very rarely is a dog actually just want to hurt another creature. A few exceptions are game dogs that have been bred for fighting. Yeah. Yeah, it's just awful. So that's how I got into it. Some people just found the joy of it. There was also a dog before I became a dog trainer, I worked at Santa Fe Animal Shelter, and there was a white little pitty, I can't remember her name, but I can vividly. She came into their intake building, and she was cowering in the back corner, but anytime anybody would walk by the kennel, she would charge full speed and just attack. I mean, slam herself against that wall. And as soon as they were gone, she went and hit again. And so, you know, I was naive. I didn't know. This was before I got into the dog world, and I saw this. I was like, what are they going to do with this dog, right? This dog seems highly aggressive. But they have a whole behavior team there, and they started working with her, and she came into adoptions, and she got adopted, and she became the sweetest little couch potato in the world. Yep, exactly. And they just through them taking their time and building trust and showing her that the world means good things for her, she was able to be adopted, right? And that was when I was like, I know what I need to do with my life. Like, I have to be a dog trainer. I have to work with these kids. So that's how. What's that?
I said it instructs you as to where you are.
Yep, exactly. So.
How long have you been doing it? 5 years now. I was working with him at the shelter, and then he adopted me.
Yeah, they do that. Yes, they do that. Yeah, my dog Stella, she was found at the dump on the Wind River Reservation with a little pitty, and I wanted to adopt a pit bull. I had a 3-legged Rottweiler, and he had a messed up back leg, and they were talking about having to chop it off. And so I was like, oh, I'll have a little 3-legged pitty and a 3-legged Rottweiler, my little tripod crew. So I went in to go introduce him to my Rottweiler, and I saw Stella and went, uh-oh. That was it. I was like, that's my dog. I didn't even go meet the pitty. I just knew as soon as I saw her that she was my dog. She looked up at me, and it was over. And she is amazing. What's that? I know, they really are. He found a great home with a very retired doctor in Jackson. He had a beautiful life. They really are. They really are. They're so sweet. Those big, happy smiles. So, so that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. If you guys have any other, oh, you had another question.
The other one's kind of, so I've got 4 dogs. They are not all that, I mean, they're socialized enough, but they do charge. They're very defensive of the area and just letting each other know they feed off each other, right? So throughout my schooling, yeah, I'm doing different kinds of training. Just got through recall training, and so now I'm using that as a redirection from those.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of wanted you to explain how, a little bit of learning theory, how changing the almost intercepting their interaction and then changing it to something good eventually builds up to them directly relating that.
Yeah. So, yeah. So I'll reframe it here. So basically, like if a dog is kind of reactive at something, so he's talking about his dogs, barking at a fence line. Basically, when people or dogs walk by, it could be also them barking or lunging at the end of a leash at a fence line. It's how do we what we use in the term is in the training world is redirection, is teaching a dog to redirect that focus on their guardian or their handler as opposed to what they're yelling at. So it's called redirection. And he's asking, like, how does redirection help that animal no longer perform that behavior or feel good about the situation? And so essentially what's happening is redirection is actually training an alternative behavior. So it's basically saying, how about instead of barking and lunging at the end of the leash or at the fence, you focus on your handler instead. And we put that on a cue and we train it out of context first, build it up strong. Typically kind of common redirections are use like a watch me to get the dog to focus their eyes on you. A leave it teaches them to leave alone whatever it is that they're interested in. A touch hand target can be one. He's talking about using recall, come when called. It's any way of kind of them refocusing their attention onto you. So that is basic behavioral learning, because we're teaching an actual behavior, the dog to do the behavior. But the way we teach the dog to do it is we reward them. We give them a reason to want to do it. The better the reward, the more likely they're going to do the behavior, especially in a high intensity situation. So as I like to tell clients a lot, like if you give them this to leave the scary dog alone on the fence line, they're most likely not going to do the behavior, because they're like, why would I stop concerning myself at this foreign dog on the other side of the fence line for this tiny little piece-sized treat? All right. Now, if you give them all of this, there's more motivation there, more reason for them to want to do it. So the higher the value of the food, the better the type of food, or the more of it will give them that motivation. So that is teaching alternative behavior, and working in behavioral learning. However, emotional learning is always happening in the background. An animal is always kind of assessing how they feel about situations. And so what they are inevitably learning as well is, like in the sense of Cody's dogs barking at a fence line, if they see a stranger on the side of the fence line, on the outside of the fence, and they see that stranger and they're barking, and Cody redirects them with his come when called, and they come to him and they get all his food, what inevitably is happening is they start to learn, when I see a stranger on the outside of my fence line, Dad gives me a huge handful of food every single time. And so what starts to happen is they start associating that food with the stranger, and they start going, oh, there's a stranger, it's time for that handful of food. And so they start getting excited because they know what's about to happen is they're going to get that paycheck. They're going to get that huge amount. You have to be very consistent with it. Yep. For emotional learning to happen, there has to be,
Exactly.
you need it as close to 100% of the time as possible. And that's where management comes in. If we're not able to be there, then we don't expose them. We don't put them in that situation. So like my dog Stella, when I adopted her, she was super reactive to dogs. She saw a dog even 300 feet away, she would lunge. I mean, did not like other dogs. If she was off leash, she would charge them, roll them, pin them. She never hurt an animal, but needless to say, I managed the hell out of that. Meaning, like she was on leash, she didn't get to hang out with foreign dogs that she didn't know. We did really slow intros if it was ever a dog that she needed to meet. So I managed it. I didn't put her in those situations for her to be able to like fully go that far. I started teaching her a leave it, or I didn't start. I taught her a leave it. So whenever time she sees a dog, she focuses on me instead. And now when we walk around like in town, she sees a dog, she automatically looks to me because she knows the dog has become the cue that she's going to look at me and she's going to get food. So I don't even need to cue her anymore. She just, sometimes I do, but when she's super ramped up. But and now she's actually starting to like see dogs and wag her tail and whine and be like, I kind of want to maybe go say hi. And she's getting a little flirty. And now I can actually like introduce her to more dogs. She's actually played with some dogs because this emotional learning was happening. She started associating dogs with good things. And so now she's starting to go, hey, maybe dogs are actually not so scary after all. And they're actually kind of cool. And maybe they can be fun as opposed to this potential scary thing.
However, when you have a living dog and a livestock guardian.
Yes. Well, they work together, right? I mean, my favorite story is I was driving my car through a herd of sheep out on the lake bottom in Wyoming, and the sheep had come across the road, and I couldn't go anywhere else because it's all mud. And I look to my left and I see the little border collies, and they're just like, oh, it's a human. Hi. Oh, hey, hi, human. Hi. What are you going to tell me? And then I look to my right, and then I see the 3 livestock guardian breeds hunting my car. They're coming in fast, and then they attack, and they come at my car, and they put puncture holes in my in my bumper. I had dogs in the car, so they were ramped. But yeah, the 2 very different. But the border collies keep them together. No, it was the livestock guardian dogs. So the border collies are there to keep the herd contained, and then the livestock guardians they're like, no. Those might have been Pyrenees. They might have been Maremmas, though.
They could have been Anatolians.
I don't think they were Anatolians. Most of them are up there are usually Pyrenees. There's a lot of Pyrenees in Wyoming, but some of them are Maremmas as well. They don't have a ton of Anatolians. I don't know why up there, but at least where I lived. They're cool. I had a dog. I had a Pyrenees. I was on the lake, and I was in a spot where there was no road access. And this Pyrenees came up to me, and I was like, where did you come from? And so he was leaning against me and looking for pets and whatnot, and then he kept going over this berm. So I was like, well, maybe he has people. So I walked over there, no people. I went back. He followed me back and then kept going over this berm. And I was like, oh, you're trying to get me to follow you. And so I followed him, and he took me to 2 sheep that were stuck in a creek. One of them was already dead, but the other one was still alive, and he was like, help me, human. And so me and some friends spent like the next 3 hours. They had been there for so long, they had pushed all the water out, and it was like they were almost standing in like cement. So we had to like literally like pry bar them out of the one live one. And finally, once he got his legs working and the blood flowing, and he went off to go eat, the Pyrenees was like, peace. Mm-hmm. It's so cool. Yep. My friend who got tracked down by a Pyrenees out in the deep woods, and he followed him, and there was some sheep stuck on a cliff. Get them off, and they're like, all right, thank you, humans. Thanks for your help. It's so cool. It's so cool. So yeah.
You know, in teaching and trying to change the aggressive behavior, what if you're not food motivated? I mean, I understand all what you're saying, but if they're not motivated for food.
So that's a great question. So all dogs are motivated to food at some point, right? As our mentor says, a non-food motivated dog is a dead dog, right? They have to eat, so to stay alive. So there's a couple different options. One, it's a lot of the couple of things happen. I get told a lot of times, oh, my dog's not food motivated, and it's just that the client hasn't tried more alternatives. They may go buy a cheap, these are those like cheap grillers, and then the dog doesn't like them, and they're like, well, my dog doesn't like food or doesn't like treats. Yeah, and so my first thing I suggest to people is let's try out, go to your fridge, pick out some cheese and some meats and even fruits or vegetables or whatever, and literally just do a food test. So you put one type of food in one hand, one type of food in the other hand, and you offer it to the dog for free without a behavior. And you see which one they go for. And you're like, okay, well, and you repeat. So you just data collection. Okay, 4 times out of 5, my dog prefers chicken over cheese. Okay, well, let's compare chicken to beef. And get inventive. I have a client his favorite, most amazing thing in the world he would do anything for was frozen blackberries. That was it. That was it for him. I had another client who would not work for just about, she would work inside, but as soon as you took her outside, she would refuse the food. And then one day her mom gave her a milk bone, and the dog was like, I'll do anything for a milk bone. I don't know why. That's not the most, in my eyes, the most valuable thing. So really ask your dog as opposed to us assuming what our dog wants. So that's one aspect. Two, if they're into play, then we can reward with play. So throw the ball, play with tug of war. Sometimes they don't want to just directly eat the food, but we can give them an activity. So kind of finding what is it that this dog is motivated by. If your dog's not motivated by toys or play, you can actually develop that. A lot of dogs just never learn to play, but you can actually kind of teach them to want to engage with play. You can also kind of close the economy. So if it's like super important and we need to do this, then you stop feeding your dog their full caloric intake through their meals, or you pull all of it out and they earn all of their food through training. And so then that builds that motivation. We still want to make sure, I'm not saying deprive them and starve them. I'm saying they still need to get that full caloric intake for the day, but we just dole it out through training as opposed to in a bowl.
So really, basically you're saying there are no non-motivated food
Yep.
dogs.
And if a dog is super, yep. And if a dog is super, like I've encountered it, if a dog is like not willing to play and not wanting to eat food, we're going to get a medical check on that animal. Like what's going on that doesn't want to do anything, you know, like why is it not eating food? Yep, exactly.
There's also the part, because you asked, you know, if it's hypothetically an aggressive dog that's not food motivated. It depends what context are we saying this dog isn't eating? Because what can happen is if the dog is aggressive, meaning they're fearful, and we've got them in a situation where they're too close in intensity to the thing that they're afraid of, that can also cause them to not be consuming food at the time.
And that's a clue to us that we put the animal in too intense of a situation. So with any of this, it's like we teach, if we're teaching a behavior, we teach it at home, no distractions. Then we teach it outside. And then we start teaching it at a level where the dog can perform the behavior. We can't just throw it into a situation and hope it's going to work. So like with my dog with the Leave-Its, like I said, we started at 300 feet. That's what she could handle, you know, and we slowly worked closer and closer and closer to now where she can walk 3 feet away. If I had started at 3 feet away from another dog, she would have not been able to perform the behavior. It's too intense.
Or potentially eat food at
or
that
eat
time.
food at all.
She says,
exactly.
I don't care about this food because there's a dog right in front of my face.
Or an intruder.
Yep. Whatever that trigger is. Yeah.
My dog, not my present dog, I had Border Collie and Marilla chase intruders out of my garage. Every evening, I'm harassed by the Airbnb owners. And they threw rocks. As they came with the electric gate and destroyed it. But I didn't pull my dogs off, but I was with them.
Yep. Well, and that's like the livestock guardian breeder. They're going to do what they're meant to do, right? So I've had clients, you know, kind of, how do I teach my Belgian Malinois to bark at strangers? I'm like, you don't need to teach him how to do that. He already knows how to do that. What we're trying to get him to do is not bark at your friends, right? Like livestock, you know, guardian dog, like same thing. They're going to guard. They're going to guard their sheep. They're going to guard their people. They're going to guard their homes. Yeah, their chickens. Exactly, whatever it is. They're kind of their flock, maybe. We don't need to teach them to guard, right? We've already bred that into them. So, if anything, we need to make sure that they're safe for people we want to come onto our property, right? So, yeah, there you go. That's management, right? So just not avoiding it. You know, management is also an absolutely achievable way to do things. You can absolutely manage the situation. So like I don't take my dog on really busy trails because it's too much. And she doesn't want to go there. She doesn't want to say hi to a bunch of dogs.
Have you ever been to Green Lake in Seattle?
No.
It's a true lake and people grow on it and do things. But all around it, they have walkways. And it's partitioned. You can go walking dogs, you can go running. It's just wonderful.
for some. My dog would hate that.
Oh, no, they all love.
Well, she doesn't like dogs, so she's not going to want to be around other dogs. So, that's the thing is put them around, people go, well, I want my dog who is afraid of strangers to like come to my parties with me. And I'm like, your dog doesn't want to go to your parties with you. Your dog wants to stay at home.
Oh, I had
It's just like, just leave him at home. Your dog's going to be so happy that you didn't take it to the party, So, I know. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Some dogs love it, right? Stella would love if there was no dogs and there was a party. She would eat that up. Yeah, she's like, everybody's here for me. You should all give me your bags of cookies. So we're about an hour up. Unless there's other questions, we're gonna kind of wrap up here.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And then, thank you. And we, just as a reminder, this happens every third Saturday of every month. Same time, 2:00 every third Saturday. Yep. And so I don't normally, I have it read, but usually we have enough people that are just asking questions about their personal animals, so I will just answer questions. It's just come with your questions. It's anything. My goal is to help individuals, right? So, and then if there's not, then I will talk about things. I'll bring up. I always have something kind of prepped in the background.
I was hoping we could pull it more foster people, but I have
I know.
I've never fostered dogs before. It's very different. You have to maintain a distance. You don't want to get attacked. You don't want to have to adopt